How do you build a championship culture in the ultimate results oriented business? In 2010, Pete Carroll inherited a Seattle Seahawks team that hadn't won a playoff game in 6 years. It was considered a laughingstock of the NFL. 4 years later, they demolished the Denver Broncos 43-8 in the Super Bowl, one of the most dominant championship performances in sports history. What Pete Carroll understood wasn't just revolutionary, it was completely contrary to conventional wisdom. While other coaches led through fear and intimidation, Carroll built a championship culture through authentic positivity, competitive energy, and a genuine care for his people. Welcome to the highest level. I'm Coach Evan, and I study what separates legendary leaders from everyone else. Today, we're breaking down Pete Carroll's leadership model, the energy based approach that proves positive cultures outperform fear based environments at the highest competitive levels. By the end of this case study, you'll have 5 proven leadership principles that create championship cultures through positivity and empowerment, whether you're leading a Fortune 500 company or building a startup team. Let's dive in. First, let's understand what makes Pete Carroll's success so remarkable. He is one of only 3 coaches in history to win championships at both the college and NFL levels. And he's the only one to rebuild programs from scratch at both levels. At USC, he took a program that was mediocre and built them into a dynasty that won 2 national championships. With the Seattle Seahawks, he inherited a franchise that was the NFL's laughingstock and turned them into Super Bowl champions. But here's what makes this interesting for business leaders. Carroll did it through a leadership approach that most people thought would never work at the highest levels of competition. When Pete Carroll became the Seattle Seahawks head coach, critics said his rah-rah college approach would fail in the NFL, that professional athletes wouldn't respond to his enthusiasm and positive energy, that the league was too cynical, too business focused for his style. They were completely wrong. This isn't just about sports. This is about the fundamental challenge every leader faces. How do you create an environment where people perform at their absolute highest level, not because they have to, but because they want to? Carroll mastered this through what we can break down into 5 core principles of energy based leadership, the Pete Carroll leadership model. Principle 1: authentic positivity as competitive advantage. Most people think positivity is soft. Pete Carroll proves it's the ultimate competitive weapon. His approach isn't fake motivation or empty cheerleading, it's a genuine belief that creates unshakable confidence. Here's the story that shows this in action. Before taking the Seattle Seahawks head coaching job, Carroll was asked by ownership what was his biggest strength as a leader. His answer was simple. My mother always told me to believe that something good is about to happen. Now, that wasn't just a throwaway line, it was a belief that became the foundation of how he built championship culture. Carroll understood something most leaders miss. Authentic positivity creates a psychological resilience that enables peak performance under pressure. When people genuinely believe good things are possible, they take the smart risks necessary for breakthrough results. His players described a feeling of confidence that was almost supernatural. Seahawks player Richard Sherman said, Coach Carroll made us believe we were going to win before we even took the field. Not hope we were going to win, but know we were going to win. But here's the key. This wasn't just blind optimism. Carroll backed his positivity with obsessive preparation and clear standards. He said, it's not enough to be positive. You have to be positive and excellent. The result? The Seahawks consistently performed above their talent level because they approached every challenge believing they would find a way to succeed. Now, why does this matter for your leadership? Most organizations are led by pessimists who focus on what could go wrong rather than what could go right. This creates cultures of limitation rather than possibility. The tactical takeaway: lead with an authentic belief in what's possible. When you genuinely believe your team can achieve great things, they start to believe it too. And that belief translates directly to the highest levels of performance. This is exactly what I see missing in most organizations. Leaders who underestimate the power of genuine optimism backed by competence. Carroll understood that positive energy isn't soft, it's the foundation of sustained excellence. The key takeaway here: authentic positivity backed by competence creates unshakable confidence. Principle 2: competitive energy and enthusiasm. While other coaches make practice a grind, Carroll makes it electric. His philosophy is simple: if you want people to perform with energy in games, you have to practice with energy every single day. Here's how this looks in action. Carroll's Seahawks and USC teams were famous for blaring music during practice. While other teams run silent, military style drills, Carroll's practices feel like celebrations of competition. Critics called it unprofessional. Carroll called it preparation for excellence. Carroll said, practice is everything. It's where we make us. If practice is boring, games will be boring. If practice has energy, games will have energy. But this just wasn't about the volume or noise. Former USC players talked about how it was common to see celebrities like Snoop Dogg or Denzel Washington attending practice. As crazy as that would be for any other college team, or let alone a professional team, those distractions and noise and general circus atmosphere became something that players dealt with every single day at USC. Carroll understood that energy is contagious, and enthusiasm drives engagement at levels that discipline alone cannot reach. Carroll also used competition within competition. The Seahawks had basketball hoops in meeting rooms for shooting contests. They played music during drills. They kept score in everything to make every moment competitive. Carroll's philosophy was, we're going to compete at everything we do, not just in games, but in how we walk, how we talk, and how we show up every single day. The result? Players couldn't wait to get to work. Practice became something they looked forward to rather than something they endured. Now, why does this matter for your leadership? Most workplaces are energy vampires. People drag themselves to work, go through the motions, and count the hours until they can leave. The tactical takeaway: create environments where people are excited to show up. Energy is a choice, and leaders set the energy standard for the entire organization. This is the difference between good companies and great ones. Great companies understand that enthusiasm is a competitive advantage that drives performance beyond what talent alone can achieve. Carroll proved that energy based cultures consistently outperform environments built on fear or compliance. The key takeaway: enthusiasm is a competitive advantage that drives performance beyond talent. Principle 3: empowerment within structure. Pete Carroll's genius was creating clear boundaries that gave people freedom to be authentic. He understood that high performers need both structure and autonomy to reach their potential. Here's how this worked in practice. Carroll had only 3 team rules. 3. Most teams have dozens of regulations covering every possible scenario. Carroll simplified it into what actually mattered. Rule 1: always protect the team. Rule 2: no whining, no complaining, no excuses. And Rule 3: be early. That's it. And within those boundaries, players had complete freedom to be themselves. Richard Sherman could be boisterous and confident. Marshawn Lynch could be media shy and quirky. Russell Wilson could be spiritual and optimistic. Each player's unique personality was celebrated as long as they followed the 3 rules. Carroll said, we celebrate the uniqueness of our players. We celebrate the way they see the world as they fit in with our football team. When critics complained about player behavior, Carroll defended his approach. I'm not trying to control who they are. I'm trying to channel who they are toward team success. This created psychological safety that enabled peak performance. Players didn't have to waste energy pretending to be someone else. They could focus all their energy on excelling at their job. But here's the crucial part: Empowerment came with accountability. Carroll was crystal clear about performance standards. If you couldn't perform at a championship level, personality didn't matter. He had a single test for every player. Can you help us win? If yes, we'll work with your style. If no, you need to improve or move on. The result? Players performed at their highest level because they felt trusted and valued as complete human beings, not just employees. Now, why does this matter for your leadership? Most organizations either micromanage everything or have no clear standards at all. Neither approach develops high performers. The tactical takeaway: empower your people, create clear standards for what matters, then give people complete freedom in how they achieve those standards. Empowerment without accountability is chaos. Accountability without empowerment is control. This is what separates great leaders from everyone else: the ability to maintain high standards while empowering people to bring their authentic selves to work. Carroll understood that people perform their best when they feel both challenged and trusted. The key takeaway: clear standards plus authentic empowerment leads to peak performance. Principle 4: psychological safety for peak performance. Carroll's most revolutionary insight was understanding that fear kills performance at the highest levels. He built what he called the absence of fear: environments where people could take smart risks without worrying about punishment for honest mistakes. He wanted them to understand that playing not to lose was completely different from playing to win. His philosophy was simple: when you're afraid of making mistakes, you make more mistakes. When you're free to play your best, you usually do. This wasn't about lowering standards. Carroll demanded excellence, but he created an environment where players could pursue excellence without the paralyzing fear of failure. Former quarterback Matt Hasselbeck described the difference. Other coaches make you afraid to mess up. Pete makes you excited to make great plays. Carroll implemented this through his communication style. Instead of criticizing mistakes, he focused on teaching better techniques. Instead of punishment, he used what he called learning moments. When players struggled, Carroll's first question wasn't, "Why did you mess up?" It was, "What do you need to perform better?" He also modeled vulnerability as a leader. Carroll regularly admitted his own mistakes and talked about what he was learning. This gave players permission to be imperfect while striving for excellence. The result was a team that played with incredible confidence in high pressure situations. The Seahawks consistently performed better in crucial moments because their players weren't afraid of the consequences of failure. Their Super Bowl performance was the perfect example. They played with complete freedom against the most explosive offense in the NFL and dominated them because they weren't playing scared. Now, why does this matter for your leadership? Most organizations are built on fear: fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of taking risks. This creates cultures where people play not to lose rather than playing to win. The tactical takeaway: create environments where people can take smart risks without fear of punishment for honest mistakes. Psychological safety isn't about lowering standards, it's about enabling people to reach those standards. This is exactly what research shows across industries. Teams with psychological safety consistently outperform teams that lead through fear. Carroll understood that when people feel safe to be excellent, they usually are. The key takeaway here: psychological safety enables smart risks that drive breakthrough performance. Principle 5: sustainable culture through genuine care. Carroll's final principle was understanding that sustainable excellence comes from genuinely caring about people as human beings, not just as performers. This creates loyalty and commitment that goes far beyond contracts or paychecks. Here's how this looked in practice. Carroll made a point of knowing every player's personal story, not just their football background, but their family situation, their interests, and their goals beyond sports. He regularly asked players about their families, remembered personal details, and connected with them as complete people. This wasn't manipulation, It was a genuine interest in their well being. When players struggled, Carroll's first concern was often personal rather than professional. He'd ask, "What's going on in life? How can we help?" Former assistant Yogi Roth, who worked for Carroll at USC, described it this way: Coach Carroll made you feel like he cared about you succeeding as a person first and as a football player second. That made you want to run through a wall for him. Carroll also invested in players' development beyond their current role. He encouraged players to think about their life after football, supported their education, and helped them develop skills for future careers. This created what he called a family environment. Players feel like they were part of something bigger than just a team. They were part of a community that cared about their long term success. But here's the key insight: this genuine care actually drove better performance. When people know their leader truly cares about them, they give an effort that you can't buy or demand. Players consistently went above and beyond because they felt personally invested in Carroll's success. They weren't just working for a paycheck, they were working for someone who was invested in them. The result was sustained excellence over multiple years. While other teams had brief moments of success followed by decline, Carroll's teams maintained high performance because the culture was built on relationships, not just systems. Now, why does this matter for your leadership? Most organizations treat people as resources rather than human beings. This creates transactional relationships that limit performance and increase turnover. The tactical takeaway: genuinely care for your people. Invest in people as complete human beings, not just as employees. Genuine care creates loyalty and commitment that drives sustainable excellence. This is what separates leaders who build dynasties from those who have brief moments of success. Dynasties are built on relationships where people feel genuinely valued and invested in. Carroll understood that when you care about people's success beyond their current role, they care about your success beyond their current job. The key takeaway here: genuine care for people creates loyalty that drives sustainable excellence. Now, here's how all these principles work together in practice. Look at the Seattle Seahawks championship run from 2012 to 2014. This is energy based leadership creating sustained excellence at the highest level. Authentic positivity. Carroll convinced the team of underdrafted players that they were championship caliber. Richard Sherman, Russell Wilson, and Cam Chancellor all believed that they were elite before their stats proved it. Competitive energy. Practice was so energetic and competitive that games felt easy by comparison. Players described feeling that they had an unfair advantage because they practiced harder and with more enthusiasm than anyone else. Empowerment within structure. Each player's unique personality was celebrated with clear team standards. The Legion of Boom played with individual flair while maintaining collective discipline. Psychological safety. The team played with incredible confidence in pressure situations because they weren't afraid of making mistakes. They took smart risks that other teams wouldn't attempt. Genuine care. Players gave everything they had because they felt personally invested in Carroll's success. This was bigger than football. It was family. Notice the integration here. The positive energy created confidence. The empowerment enabled authenticity. The psychological safety encouraged smart risks. The genuine care built loyalty. And the competitive enthusiasm tied it all together. This is the difference between good leaders and legendary leaders. They create systems where every principle reinforces every other principle to create sustainable championship culture. In your organization, this looks like an authentic belief in what's possible, creating environments where people are excited to show up, setting clear standards with personal empowerment, cultivating psychological safety for people to take smart risks, and genuine investment in people's long-term success. So there you have it. Pete Carroll's leadership model, broken down into 5 energy-based principles: authentic positivity, competitive energy, empowerment within structure, psychological safety, and genuine care. The bottom line: Pete Carroll proved that positive, empowering cultures consistently outperform fear based environments at the highest levels of competition. You don't have to choose between being demanding and being caring. Championship leaders do both. Here's your homework: pick one of these principles and implement it with your team this week. If your culture feels negative, start with authentic positivity. If people seem disengaged, focus on competitive energy. If you found this valuable, subscribe for more championship leadership case studies. Next week, we're breaking down Mike Tomlin and how steady leadership creates consistency in chaotic environments. And if you're a business leader who wants to build championship cultures through positive energy like Carol did, check out the link in the description. I work with executives who want to create environments where people perform at their highest level because they want to. Until next time, lead like a legend.